What is going on, everybody? It is the Going Over Big Time podcast. I am Mike Charlip, and once again, I am joined by my co host, Alan the Cantastic. And we also have a third member here, friend of Alan from Canada. Why don't you introduce your friend, Alan?
Well, my friend, I guess I'll have to call you Charlotte because my friend is also named Mike. This is the illustrious Mr. Mike Cluett from the town of Milton, Ontario. I am from another city that we're basically both Toronto adjacent ish.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're from. And, I've known Mike for a couple of years now. He's done a lot of work in his community. But honestly, I would rather give the time a bit over to Mike to introduce himself. Let him give his own introduction promo, shall we say? And Mr. Cluett, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, being from Canada, we have to address the crowd as saying, "How's it going, eh?" Uh, that's a throwback to our hoser moments. And not everybody in Canada hates the Americans. So just want to let you know, we're not going to boo any national anthems here. Um, we treat everybody with respect, especially our friends from America that are listening. But yeah, I'm a longtime wrestling fan. So let's just get into that real quick. Longtime wrestling fan since I can remember. I'm actually old enough to remember going to WrestleMania 1 at the closed circuit locations where before it was pay-per-view or PLEs or whatever the WWE wants to talk about. But yeah, we saw them in closed circuit. That's back when we had to watch these great matches. So yeah, I'm just do the math. I'm old. But more specifically locally about here in the town of Milton, I grew up in an adjacent city to Alan there, Brampton, Ontario, before I moved to Milton in 2003. I spent a stint as an elected official, so please don't judge me on that. And that's where Alan and I met. Actually, he mentioned during when we were there in the green room, a couple of years. It's been more than a couple of years, actually. It's been. We're like in the 5 to 7 range when it comes down to, because it was well before pre-COVID. You came to one of our events in the town of Milton town hall.
Yeah, I
On New
remember
Year's
that.
Day, so that was way back when. Back when I actually
I
had
remember
hair.
going to one of your campaign launches. It was at the at a rest. I think it was at a pub of somewhere. I can't remember, but it was like at the intersection of Dairy and I don't know which road. But it was
All the
I think it was,
listeners now are going onto Google Maps to find out where it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was
and
called the
Charlotte is
Rad
completely
Brothers.
tuning out because
Yeah.
he doesn't know what we're referencing.
It was a great bar, great location, great owners,
Yeah,
and
great
sadly it
time.
had to close recently. But
Yeah,
yeah, that was one of the campaign launches. That was back in 22
2018,
or 2018.
2014.
Yeah, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah, I think 2018.
So it's we're age old friends now.
Yeah.
But we always stay connected with our love of wrestling and the moments that we exchange messages during these premium live events, and when each one of us are marking out over something else.
Mhm.
And we could talk about. I know we're going to talk about WrestleMania, but the only thing that still stays in my mind, and I don't grow tired of seeing the reels, is the introduction of Joe Hendry, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, to WrestleMania. To hear that pop, to see
Oh
Randy
man.
Orton's face, like, damn, this guy's good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I
And
know we'll talk about that going forward. But yeah, love of wrestling. I have a good friends of mine. Our former WWE wrestler is Tiger Ali Singh. You'll remember him during the Attitude Era. He had his assistant Babu come down to the ring with him,
Mhm.
and he would bribe those crazy Americans with money to do incredibly gross and disgusting things like eat
Dog
dog food
food.
off of Babu's feet,
Yeah.
French kiss Babu after he had a can full of sardines,
Hmm.
all for $500 cash, and been good friends with him ever since. The Tigers are an incredibly philanthropic family as well. The Tiger Jeet Singh Foundation. If anybody does want to Google that, it's a great organization that has raised over $2 million plus for children, for toys during the holiday seasons, and does a lot for our local food banks, and has done many good things to help support Japan after the tsunami crisis as well. So wonderful people, God love them, and they're great and wonderful friends. Alan had a chance to meet one of them recently at an event in Mississauga.
Yes, it was sort of a Christmas-related fundraiser called Miracle on Main Street. They've had it in Mike's town in Milton for years, and now they're gonna uh, launch it in our city. So when I met Tiger, I was just like, "Oh wow, it's Tiger Ali Singh." I was like marking out a little bit, but that was a good experience, and really looking forward to see him in the future. And and looking forward to our discussion tonight.
Yeah. So today we're gonna mostly talk about WrestleMania. It's gonna be semi-review, like we're mostly gonna be talking about the big topics. I think the main one going around obviously is what's going on with The Rock, what happened with The Rock, and also the women's division has been a very hot topic, mainly the tag title situation and the way that we got to that situation at WrestleMania. But all in all, I thought WrestleMania was an okay show. There was a lot of really good matches, and then there was some not so really good matches. But I thought it was a passable show. Certainly not on the level of a WrestleMania 40, but overall, Alan, why don't you give us your overall thoughts?
I thought night one, I really was just waiting for most of that show to end so I can get to Rollins, Reigns, and Punk.
Yep.
I mean, the only surprise I got out of Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight title was that Gunther tapped out to his own sleeper hold. I had the feeling that Jay was gonna go over, but for him to go over like that, and then for the night like 2 nights after on Raw, for Gunther to start attacking the commentary team, basically getting himself suspended indefinitely. I was telling you, Mike, Charlotte, off line that okay, are we getting Gunther versus Pat McAfee? Because do I really want to see that? I'm really like,
I know I don't.
I mean, Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole years ago on NXT, that looked believable, and Pat even had his own faction back then. But this is not like Gunther is a monster. Like he will kill you. I mean, how Pat, you're just a commentator, like a very good one, and you're an entertaining guy, but like you're not a regular wrestler. But anyway, all the other stuff, like, I expected Jade Cargill to defeat Naomi. I expected Jacob Fatu to become the new United States champion. Even expected the New Day to become the new tag team champions. And thankfully, Tiffany Stratton retained the WWE women's title over Charlotte because really didn't need to see another Charlotte win at WrestleMania.
No, we didn't.
No. But yeah, the triple threat match, exactly the kind of cinema I expected. Little too obvious to predict at the end when you saw Paul throw the chair to Punk and then betray Punk, and then kind of knew what was coming. He was going to betray his tribal chief too. Best friend and tribal chief in one night, and now he's going on with the Visionary. And going forward, we're going to see some very interesting stuff out of this Heyman Rollins alliance.
Yep. So
I thought, like I said, the main event, night one. If Alan hadn't read off some of those matches, I probably wouldn't have remembered that they actually happened. I'm not a huge Jey Uso fan. I'll admit that. I call him mid-card Jey Uso because that's where he is. He's definitely someone who's not at the main event level. And again, it's probably due to my age, but I'm not a yeeter. I'm still trying to figure out what the heck a yeet is.
You just do this with your
hands. Put your waves up, your hands in the air, but we'll get to Henry later. I said his name. But I'm not like I said. I'm a huge Gunther fan. Always have been. Back when he was Walter, back in WWE, the NXT UK.
Yep.
This guy is a wrestling machine, and he's to me, like I said, a throwback to the old school days where he could beat you so many different ways. He comes down, black tights, black boots, very, as they use the word stoic in his demeanor. And he just gets in there and he'll ground and pound the opponents to submission or defeat. The Tyrannosaurus Rex drop kick he does to perfection. And whenever I see any other wrestler do it, it looks kind of silly. But Gunther does it just absolutely like he's the ring general. He reminds me a lot of from a wrestling style, Ric Flair, not in the personality side, but a wrestling style of Ric Flair. But again, I'm going to go old school again. If you remember the AWA World Heavyweight Champion, Nick Bockwinkel, that's who I get visions of whenever I see a Gunther match.
I've heard that comparison too. That is it's a very accurate comparison. I think he's very old school in that way, and he cares about his in-ring work and cares about how he looks in the ring and cares about how people measure up to him in the ring. And the whole build to that match was the fact that Jay couldn't, and because he had lost to him 3 other times already. I mean, and we talked about this in the build to this match, that Jay had just faced Gunther a week before winning the Royal Rumble. So it was kind of weird that that's where they went, because we knew he was going to challenge Gunther again, because he wasn't going to challenge Cody. And I've seen discourse about the sleeper finish. It's the same exact finish when Ilya Dragunov beat him, and he tapped out pretty quickly in that one as well. So I don't know if they're trying to tell a story that Gunther just hates being choked. I don't know. But
well, it's also, I think, in this case with Gunther, like he was at that certain level. He was a world heavyweight champion, and we can probably talk forever about how mismanaged his booking was. Because, again, I honestly think that shouldn't have opened WrestleMania, but I know they wanted to have the Yeet Fest and all of that. But they should be elevating him, or should have elevated him a little bit higher. His title sort of became the secondary one, obviously with Cody. But what they might be trying to do in this situation, and I'm hoping that they do, they're going to create Gunther as more of a monster. Like, how dare Jay beat him with his own move, and how like that may be his Achilles heel. But hopefully this can turn him into even more of the monster that Gunther should be. Whether or not they return him to the world title scene, maybe take a break from that, because 85 or 90% of his time in WWE, he's had a championship. So
yeah, and that was one of my criticisms going in, and it was why I actually picked Gunther to win. A lot of people were like, "Oh, Jay's obviously winning because this is the story they're telling." But my whole thing was going in is that he did this already with Sammy, this exact thing. So it felt like, oh, we're doing the exact same story here. Of he's facing a guy who shouldn't and probably can't beat him, but will. And that just doesn't seem right to do that 2 years in a row. But that's what we got, and that's fine.
Are you on your way?
Somebody's phone.
That's my daughter. Hold on.
Okay, it's fine. Yeah, like, I mean, go back to Mr. Cluett's point. Like, they booked him as this unstoppable monster, and yet for 2 WrestleManias in a row, he's lost. First time he lost to Sami Zayn. Second time he's losing to Jey Uso. Yeah, to your point about the chokehold, my recollection was when I watched that takeover match with Ilya Dragunov, like Ilya had Gunther over the ropes, I think, and he was like choking him out using that as leverage. And I'm trying to think why that would have counted, because you can't have a submission hold on the ropes. No,
No,
I
he
think
didn't. No,
it might have been a DQ match or something. I can't remember, but
No,
it
it
was
was
like a
a-
really
rules be damned here in the WWE. They change it
yeah,
all the time.
he
so,
has a trend. Like
Yeah.
as soon as he gets put in his own sleeper hold, he taps out real quick. It doesn't even.
Yeah.
He's like, I mean, even if Jay like put him on and Gunther passed out, like that would have been more believable.
Well, even comparing it to Ilya Dragunov at least has a history of doing submissions. Jay does not at all. He's never
But
done a submission.
remember the psychology of all this. Gunther's like the most heated moment of this rivalry was like when Gunther beat the shit out of his brother Jimmy and like just
Yes.
covered his brother's blood on his own body and had
Yes.
Jay zip tied to the ring. It was like the equivalent of Triple H was handcuffed to the ring while Randy Orton started making out with Stephanie back in the day. I mean, different context here. It was
Of
just
course.
like, just that psychotic moment when Gunther just like drenched in crimson red and just like trying to kill
that's
his
the
kid.
Gunther that I definitely want to see.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the Gunther that should be there. Is like this, like I said, the unstoppable monster in there. So I think that's where, and I'm not a huge McAfee fan either. He could shut up most of the nights, and my time will be great. But this is where I think it'll give him the opportunity to destroy somebody, leave them in that pool of blood, like like Jimmy Uso, and to stand tall and people go, holy crap, this guy's lost it. And I think that's where they need to take him going forward, and maybe go after a few more other have some other feuds before they try to return him back to the world title scene, whether it's the whatever's going to happen with the WWE championship or the world heavyweight championship. So
Yeah, I would hope that he's going to be going for the other belt down the line. I've already long term booked Gunther to win next year's Rumble. That's where I'm at. I'd say keep him out of the title picture for a while, but build him up. Keep him as like a special attraction. He doesn't have to wrestle every week. Just get him in these special feuds going, building him up again, and winning the Rumble next year. I think that's the best road for Gunther. As far as Jey Uso being the champion, I'm sure he's going to go through the long list of people that he wants to get his revenge on, like a Drew McIntyre, possibly have a match with Logan Paul, which I would absolutely hate. But
I see we're on the same page with with some certain ones. But on Raw, I think they teased sort of the Sami Zayn.
Yep.
Looking as Jay was up on the ropes, he's kind of looking at him strangely. But
yeah,
and again, Sami Zayn is not a world heavyweight champion material in my eyes at all. He's a popular guy. He's like Jey Uso. He's popular, has a great entrance, and he connects with fans. Does that make you a world champion? No. You got to have a little bit more. And not get so blown up before during your entrance that you can't speak or you can't move around during your matches.
Yeah, yep. And
Sammy, Jay.
I also would not be surprised if Jay's reign is not that long. Like maybe SummerSlam, it could even be a place where he loses it. But I would hope that if you want to just establish him somehow and actually have him have some good defenses in there, but. Again, as Triple H would tell you, Jey Uso is not the greatest wrestler.
No crap on that one, Paul. There you go.
So,
but no, and again, you can't. It's hard in wrestling, and we can go to Daniel Bryan, and he's another perfect example of the crowd getting behind a guy, and Daniel Bryan definitely has. More wrestling capabilities than a Jey Uso or any of these other ones, but he had the fans behind him, and we all remember the yes move in WrestleMania 30 and the way it all ended, and it wasn't supposed to be that way, but it ended up being that way, and the fans, they pick their favorites no matter who it is, and as traditional wrestling fans like me will look at it and go, really, this guy? Oh, okay. Yeet away, do what you have to do. But if there's, like I said, people like me, like Gunther is one of those things. Chad Gable, if he was just a little bit taller, a little bit bigger, that guy would be an incredible a champion, singles champion. But they've got him with the mask on, and I know we can probably talk about it a little bit later as well. But when Braun Breaker lost his Intercontinental title, I was upset that he lost it, but I'm thinking they better damn well put him in the world title picture now or get him closer to it. And then everything with Heyman and on Monday night was sort of cemented all of that as they're going. I think they're going to strap a rocket to this guy because Braun Breaker is just an absolute gem, and I don't think I've ever seen a bad Braun Breaker match.
Yeah, I fully agree, and as you mentioned, and Alan actually failed to mention when talking about night one in general, is the match that we presume had Chad Gable in it.
I mean,
no, that was
really,
a Grande Americano. That was not Chad Gable. Come on.
Yeah, it was the Mexican sensation from Mexico City, La Grande Americano. I mean,
yeah, that's not. What are you talking about? I thought you said Mike was smart. That's not Chad Gable.
He's an insider, but at times, I just think he
very similar in stature, but that is not Chad
reality.
Gable.
Yeah,
I mean, was it really that relevant to mention? Like, I know I didn't. You know why I didn't mention it? It wasn't really worth mentioning. Like, I think you and I talked about this, Charlotte. This match wasn't even worth being on WrestleMania. I was like, why is this here?
It also
Rey
Mysterio couldn't even do it.
It was supposed to be Rey Mysterio, and I think because it wasn't Rey Mysterio, they cut time from it.
Right.
Because it was barely 8 minutes long, as you said, and I mean, I hate that for Rey Fenix, but and I honestly hate that for Chad Gable as well. But
he's fantastic in the ring, and he's proven himself time and time again. He was able, Shorty Gable when they put that label on him, and he's been able to turn that around and back into a serious contender again. Is how he recovered from that is beyond me, but it's his in-ring work, his personality, that heel personality with the thank yous and the shushes and all that kind of stuff being there. I'm glad they're away from like Otis and Tozawa and all that kind of stuff now. I think they're going to leave them for a little bit. That's the lower mid card stuff, comedy routines, and this is where he needs to go into the serious stuff. But I see nothing but great things for him. But I think once this mask thing has got to end pretty quick for that to happen.
I hope so. I really hope so, because not only is this like culturally offensive to a lot of people.
Hey, we just bought a Mexican Wrestling Association, and now we're going to have El Grande Americano beat one of your top stars. Excellent.
Oh no, they're gonna send him over
Gracias.
there and make him win the belt.
Hey, and the Gulf of America, and you have like you have someone translating. You had that video of him doing an interview, but he's being translated by someone in English. But the guy in English is doing a really bad Spanish accent. It's like, come on.
They're gonna send him to AAA to win the world title.
Oh my god! It's just what are you already booking Worlds Collide, the main event of the show already? Oh my god, this is what a fucking
WWE disaster. Worlds Collide. There you go.
I mean, that is also the sort of like what the other story in the background and on that WrestleMania weekend was the acquisition of AAA by WWE.
Yeah,
and
and that's been heavily criticized as well because, not to make this about AEW, but a lot of people have been saying that AEW having partnerships instead of actually acquiring these companies seems more safe, seems more realistic, seems like it helps more people. Whereas WWE acquiring the company, even if it felt like, and obviously people have been saying the AAA was bleeding money for a while, they're not doing very well, but it's not going to feel the same because it's just going to have a WWE sheen all over it.
The other thing is
glamorized. It won't be your classic wrestling. Like again, when you look back on sort of the traditionalist point of view with Lucha Libre, I know there's probably a lot of Lucha Libre traditionalists that will be thinking, "Oh God, here we go," and it's going to be, it'll become one of the minor leagues. It'll become like an NXT, and it won't be maintain that same stature. Obviously, there's going to be more eyes in the product, and as long as it's not booked in a silly way where you have like a AAA invasion of WWE or a AAA invasion of NXT. I think they can. I think they can pull it off as long as they have those people, the writers, the creative, and stick with the tradition of AAA. I think it can still be successful because there's casual wrestling fans that have not really seen. They've seen Lucha Libre wrestlers, they've seen the Rey Mysterios, the Phoenixes, the Pentas, but they haven't seen a AAA card.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's going to be more eyes on that. And I think it's definitely a different wrestling experience when you watch a AAA Lucha Libre show. So I think it'll benefit them in the long run, and I think it'll benefit the business.
One of the interesting AAA aspects is that they have a referee that is either a heel referee or a babyface referee. I know more about what the heel referee does. He tries to interfere in the match on behalf of the heels in the match. I don't think they'll be doing that in a WWE version of this AAA. If they, I mean, the rumor is they actually might be thinking about rebranding it as NXT Mexico rather than just creating one of their own. I mean, the other interesting aspect is this. I wonder, like, I think the TKO factor is heavily influenced into this acquisition, because for the longest time people were saying, when was the last time WWE was in acquisition mode? They were saying stuff like this back when people were like spreading the rumor that they were going to purchase TNA, and they're saying they're not in acquisition mode at this stage. Well, with billions of dollars backed by a entity like TKO and Endeavor and Ari Emanuel, apparently now they are. So,
they got billions falling out of their pockets, and I think when you mentioned it, the NXT Mexico, again, I don't know if they might do that down the road, but just hold on to the AAA from name to build it, but. When you're a billion-dollar company like that, you want to brand it properly, and like they've been talking about NXT India and they've been talking about NXT Japan. So why not NXT Mexico?
I will say that I think one of the people that is going to flourish from this is Sam Adonis, who is the brother of Corey Graves. And he, for a while, was doing a heel American character over there, and has gotten over there, and is actually a really good worker from like the matches that I saw of him. And I think that this is going to be great for somebody like him, and maybe even get Corey Graves in the ring again, which I think would be interesting.
Well, we also might be seeing the return of El Generico as well.
You might have
El Generico against El Grande Americano. How about that?
That's the only man that could possibly beat El Grande Americano. Oh my God, who's that? El Generico? We haven't seen El Generico in 20 years.
Yeah,
he looks pretty darn good.
He looks like he looks zany or something.
But I know that you talked about it at the top of the show, and I think a lot of people are still chomping at the bit because it's all this stuff in the talk about the main event of night 2 with Cena and Cody, and the absence of the final boss. Is he just drinking too much tequila and just I forgot to go, or is this grand scripting long term like the WrestleMania 42 or even 43?
So if you believe reports, and there are some reliable people out there who have confirmed a lot of this, The Rock wanted Cody to turn, and the higher ups told him that that's not happening. And The Rock has a history of when he doesn't get what he wants to just go home. And he's done this in other aspects of his career that are not wrestling. He's done this in DC films. So that seems to be what the consensus is, that The Rock didn't get his way, so he just got involved in this, whatever this is, to appease Ari Emanuel. And once he did what he was asked to do, he went home and stopped acknowledging what was happening on screen. Because he didn't even promote WrestleMania. He didn't tweet about it. He didn't anything. He just vanished. And he said in an interview with Pat McAfee the day after WrestleMania, or was this on the Tuesday after WrestleMania, where he was going into the way his PR mode, saying that he wasn't needed, and saying that he told Cody and Cena that he laid the groundwork for what they were going to build, and that he was going to go home and let them see it off. Like, none of that makes any sense, because the build to that story had everything to do with The Rock. Literally.
Well, you go back into the when The Rock first left, because he was doing one of the movies, and he handed Cody something in the ring, and Cody immediately put it into his pocket and said, I'll come back for this. And everybody for months was like, what did he hand him? What was he talking about? What was he doing? And that kind of got dropped by the wayside. And then the next time you see him, he's the beginning of the opening of Netflix, and Cody, you've carried this company on your shoulders. Good for you. And if you smell what I'm cooking, and then he left.
Yep.
And in between there, he came at the end of a pay-per-view, did his little throat slash.
I want your soul, Cody. I want your soul.
And then he did I Want Your Soul. But that's where I kind of believed The Rock, this is where I wanted it to go. And then the higher ups, or whoever was in creative, whether it be Paul or Ariel or anybody else, kind of said, no, let's try this. And he kind of went, fine. Screw you. I'm taking my bottle of tequila and I'm going home. He invested all this time, with Mama Rhodes and doing his little sing-alongs and doing all that stuff, with the backstage beatdowns of Cody and the blood and draping it all over the belt, and carrying his People's Championship belt. And he's invested. I think he was trying to go almost, if you want to call it going into business for yourself for a little bit. And then everybody, just kind of reeled him back in and said, no, we're going in this direction. So I can see where, if you look in the past, where it could have been, and I still thought Cody was going to be the guy to turn. Like, he would probably, say, screw you, Rock. And then John Cena would give him a big hug at the end of the match. And then he'd turn around and, dick kick Cena. And then that would be kind of like, oh, you fell for it, you idiot. And I'll see you at WrestleMania, that type of thing.
And, me and Alan had discussed previously that it really felt like a lot of the stuff with Cena just didn't make any sense, because a lot of the things he was saying just wasn't true. And he was also still wearing his, same attire with the cities of all the last places he was going to be. And I think the main reason that is because they already made all of the merch, and they weren't just going to not sell it. And the heel turn.
And you see the arenas each week. They're selling out. So I am contrary to that. I love Cena's heel turn. And when he first came out and there was no Rock, I kind of went, okay, how's he going to pull this off? And he kind of did it very similar to like Hogan when he went NWO. Said, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, and when I came out here, you're still booing me, you're still telling me that I suck. Screw you. You tell me that I ruined wrestling. Well, watch me, and I'm going to walk out with the title, that type of thing. So I've been digging that Cena's promos. They probably should have sort of kept him and Cody away a couple more weeks. Like the last interaction be the crossroads to where he's flattened out before WrestleMania. But I've been digging the Cena promos because there is still a little bit of a tinge of history and realism to it. It's like, yeah, I do remember when he first came in, he was the heel. Everybody liked him, so they turned him face. And then he started creating those stupid spinner belts, and traditionalists like me are going, that's the ugliest piece of crap I've ever seen in my entire, the US title. And then when they did the WWE championship, But kids, the fans, they were eating it up. They were buying his shirts.
Well,
They were buying the towels. My daughter, we have one of his towels in our room, in her room, and we had she was wearing the John Cena shirt on WrestleMania night. So we still got the merch. But I love the way he's been sort of playing, and you see the little subtleties with the logo. There's no logos when he comes to the ring. It's just black background, white lettering, plain John Cena. And he says, I'm not going to give you what you want, because everybody was saying after he turned, maybe he's going to shave his head like The Rock. Maybe he's going to come out in a suit. Maybe he's going to do this. And he goes, no, here I am, jorts and all. You know, you guys can stick it. To quote Hogan back in the
Screw you!
day.
You're not. I'm not your puppet. I'm not your monkey. I'm not going to do what you want. This is what you get. This is what you get.
All of you guys on the internet are all saying, "Hey, I should shave my head." No, I'm not going to shave my head. I'm just going bald and everything, but that's beside the point. But and you want me to come out in a different persona? All his change of persona has all been in his facial expressions, in his demeanor. And this obviously is his acting background coming through full force. Yeah. That's why I say I've dug the heel turn for a little bit, and I don't think it should last too long.
Well,
I'm thinking like SummerSlam, maybe there could be a flip of the title, maybe this is where everybody's swerving us. The Rock could come back and turn on Cena, and Cody could turn, or whoever's going to take the title away from The Rock could turn on him and say. Or it could be, it could be Seth Rollins. We don't know. Things are still up in the air from that writing thing. And then, the Survivor Series be sort of seen as final match, and everybody can go back to loving him again. But you'll still hear the Cena sucks and let's go Cena all throughout the crowd.
Well, there's an added element that was a big part of the match, a big part of the finish that a lot of people are questioning as well, and that is Travis Scott, a rapper.
Let's handcuff Travis Scott to Pat McAfee, and
so Travis Scott is a well documented, a big wrestling fan. Obviously, he's made multiple appearances with WWE, most notably as a babyface with Jey Uso on the first Raw on Netflix. But for some reason, at Elimination Chamber, he was involved in the turn of John Cena. And just like The Rock, we had not seen him at all in the build to this match. But unlike The Rock, he actually showed up to WrestleMania and took his sweet ass time coming down that ramp during the finish of the main event of the biggest show of the year. And John Cena is looking at him like every time the camera was not on John Cena, supposedly he was going like this, like, come on, hurry up. But every time the camera was on John Cena, he looked like he was enamored with Travis Scott. Instead of attacking his opponent, he just stood there and waited for Travis Scott to get in the ring. And they used this to set up the finish, which was John Cena about to be pinned by the Crossroads, but Travis Scott pulling out the referee and distracting the referee, only for John Cena to hit Cody in the face with the belt one time and get the pinfall.
There's your kicker. There's your WTF moment, because that's
there's your wet fart moment. That was like the end of
that was your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday moment. Your WTF when you watch matches throughout the entire night and over the course of the 2 days where everybody was hitting their finisher once, twice, 3 times. You look at how many times Jey Uso had to splash Gunther, and you look at every other match, everybody was hitting their finishers more than once. But to one belt shot, and belt shots are nothing these days when you look at tables and chairs and all the other things, and the metal plate in an El Grande Americano's mask. All of these things are like massive and devastating, and belt shots have kind of fallen by the wayside. And there it is, old school belt shot, pop, bang. And it was kind of like 1, 2, 3. And that's where I think
Yeah.
everybody that was watching kind of just went, wait a second, what happened?
Yeah.
Is that the way it's supposed to be? And is this John Cena's plan to ruin wrestling, or as he keeps saying it? So definitely one of those moments. And when you talk about Travis Scott being there, if you didn't notice that The Rock wasn't there, you noticed him not being there after you saw Travis Scott.
Yeah.
So,
and there's
because
been
people
a
are saying,
lot...
"Oh, here comes The Rock's coming next." Because I was saying the same thing. I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
The Rock's got to
me
be coming
too."
next.
Literally, I said to Alan directly, I was like, "All right, where's The Rock?" And it just didn't happen.
My other friend and I had contemplated spending thousands of dollars to fly to Las Vegas just to see John Cena's final WrestleMania. And instead, we just settled for Elimination Chamber, which I still believe, now that we've talked about this, was still the better idea. That I got to see John Cena turn heel live in person with The Rock and Travis fucking Scott in the ring, beating the shit out of Cody Rhodes. That's still to me,
Oh,
now that
I would
think
have
about
loved
it,
to have been a fly on the wall after that in the
still the
backstage.
funniest shit I've ever seen.
And
that was still the highlight of this storyline. Just
and
this
to put
WrestleMania ending was not.
and to put even more flame on the Travis Scott fire here, there is rumors that he is training to wrestle.
Oh, fantastic.
And
Well, it's all what I guess what they would, because I know his music was what's a song called Beans?
Fiend.
Fiend.
Oh, Beans. All I heard was beans. Beans.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not in his market. I'm not his target
Of course,
audience. So
of
I'm the
course.
grumpy old man sitting on my front, my rocker on my front step, going, "Get off my lawn." When it comes to Travis Scott, but it depends on how many appearances that were, because it's all business. So the music song was there,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that they had some contractual appearances included in that. So hopefully
Sure.
it was been those 3.
And
The 2 with the wrestling, and then the ones with Jay, and maybe that'll be it. And he can keep his marijuana, or sage or whatever the hell he's spreading all over the place, and with him, and we never see him again. Because if we never see him again, it'll be too soon.
well, I believe we are going to end up seeing him again, and possibly in a wrestling capacity. And another rumor going around, and obviously nobody has confirmed this, and probably won't until it happens, is that Bad Bunny will be involved somehow.
I was just saying, as you were saying that, in the back of my mind, going, my nightmare match or main event for any wrestling program would be Bad Bunny and Travis Scott, because that's where I'll just blow my brains out on that.
It is believed
it would make me watch AEW. That's how bad it would be.
Well, I mean, come on now.
Okay, you know what would even sound
Let's do a spot
worse
fest.
than
Yeah.
Bad Bunny versus Travis Scott is if either
Pat
Bunny,
McAfee is a special guest referee.
maybe, but no, Bad Bunny teaming with Travis Scott versus Drake and Kendrick Lamar, or maybe it would make more sense if Bad Bunny teamed with Kendrick Lamar and Drake teamed with Travis Scott, or some combination of
I
in
would
a Degrassi Junior High street fight.
Yes. and there will be a wheelchair as a weapon.
There you go. But anything can, as go back to the old days of the man who shall not be spoken of in Vince. Anything can happen in the WWE when it comes to, and if they believe it will fill seats and sell tickets and get talked about, they'll do it.
Oh, of course. And I obviously will have to wait and see about that. Who knows about The Rock at this point? It just feels like he's not engaged anymore because he didn't get his way, and it I don't know. It feels very, very petty for him to be this way, but it's not.
But again,
new.
we might be
it's not
sitting
new.
back in 6 months and going, now I see it. So you never know. And there's been a lot of long-term storytelling and booking going on the last little while in a refreshing way.
Yeah.
But I think it could be like next WrestleMania will go, now this makes sense. But
Yeah.
do we all have the patience to deal with it? Who knows?
Well, that's the biggest problem in WWE is, do I have the patience to deal with this? I mean, at least that's my biggest problem in WWE.
I think their new strategy is to stretch out storylines for a year because they need a year to figure out, okay, what the hell do we do now? How do we like make this still relevant? Like, or maybe they've realized, oh shit, we messed up this WrestleMania. Now, do we have enough for like a year to stretch this out to a year to figure out how to fix this and make it make sense for next WrestleMania?
Mm-hmm. Well,
the whole thing with Bloodline, remember Bloodline 2.0? I think their original thing with Solo and Tonga and Fatu and the what is he, a hyena when he does his yeah. But that was supposed to be, I think, when you look at their writing, I think that was supposed to be last all the way to WrestleMania as well, to have sort of a Bloodline 2.0 versus. But then after a while, I think one of the guys got injured, and
it was during War Games. Like
War Games,
there was a couple of injuries on Bloodline 2.0 side. So,
and I think that's what kind of made them say, okay, we can't drag this on to WrestleMania, and then the whole make Solo Sikoa, and then obviously the fans again are choosing Jacob Fatu as the guy as opposed to Solo Sikoa. You hear the crowd reactions, and we saw the match, and I'm a huge LA Knight fan, but that was the right move to have a relatively clean match where they just beat the crap out of each other. And I don't think there was any disservice done to LA Knight in that win or that taking that loss from Jacob Fatu, because they're planning him as the monster, he's the hot hand. He's the hot hand, and it's just and he's athletic. He's just all over the place. He's like that little Tasmanian devil. Yep. But now he's got a championship. So now we're going to be able to see, hopefully, some of the guys on the SmackDown brand get their shot. I'd love to see AJ get another shot at it, or the Intercontinental title if that's the case. Have some guys on their way out, be able to take some of these things and put this guy over a little bit more. And Jacob Fatu, within the next probably 2 to 3 years, I say, will probably be a world champion. They'll put the belt on him, and deservedly so.
Yeah, the two mid-card titles in WrestleMania, I think, went to two guys who deserved it. Jacob Fatu being one of them. Mike, you and I predicted that Jacob Fatu was going to fight Solo Sikoa. I think, thank God that didn't happen, because it seemed like, just organically speaking,
and it's just crazy. Just to add to, like, it's crazy to think, like, and again, this is another thing that we've talked about a lot, is like, Jacob has been in WWE for less than a year, and he had a title win on WrestleMania. Solo Sikoa has been on the main roster for 4+ years and hasn't had a Mania match. That's crazy.
But it's baffling because again, for the longest time they were making Solo that enforcer. They don't have to use him in every single. He doesn't have to wrestle in every match. He just has to be there. But again, when they turn into the Bloodline 2.0, the fans we just didn't take it as
he's not
Solo as being a credible.
He's not Jacob. He's not Jacob.
He's not even Roman. He's not Roman. I mean, first of all, they wanted Roman, and definitely when Jacob started to emerge with his own personality, they were like, "Yeah, we like this guy better." Like, Solo's just a puppet. Like, dude, like, I've listened to Jacob Fatu promos before he came to WWE. This guy is like crazy. Like, this man is like, he knows how to drop lines like just like make you look, oh shit, I don't want to be alone with this man. I mean, going back to my point.
How many times did you hear the crowd, even before, as soon as he puts his hands together, everybody, you can hear the crowd going, "I love you, Solo." And it was nutty. And I'm sitting there going, this is going to get over. And sure enough, that became the thing. So Jacob's got another, like, that it factor. He's, you're not your traditional wrestler or whatever. He's, like I said, a Tasmanian devil, the werewolf that's going to go in there and just chomp you to bits and leave you laying there with pieces of flesh dropping from his mouth, and the fans are just gonna hate the pun, but eat it up. And Solo has that sort of had that stoic coolness going. Just something didn't catch. He was not at the level of Roman. So when people looked at Roman and Solo, people went, "Oh no, not even close." But now if you put Jacob and Roman, if they did that and put Jacob and Roman, it might have been a different story.
Well, and Roman has gone on record saying recently that he might be hanging it up sooner than we think. And like, there's 2 matches that we want to see Roman have at this point, and that's The Rock and Jacob. That's it. There aren't any other Roman Dream matches. And
that's sad because again, it's funny how it's taken this long for everybody to like and respect Roman for what he did. You know, during the days when he was being force fed, everybody was just like, just get him off my screen. All those WrestleManias, the one with the Undertaker, he was pretty much booed out of the building.
Yeah,
Triple H having to put the belt on himself to see if he can get this Roman guy over, and didn't happen.
One of the worst WrestleMania main events ever.
So to those folks who are thinking, "Oh, this last WrestleMania was the worst one," rewatch Triple H and Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
that was the worst.
I don't need to rewatch that. I remember that.
It just drags. It just drags and drags and drags.
Like, because
and
we know
the
conclusion. Like the whole point of this was to have Roman have the belt, and he got it, right?
Yeah.
But and that's where again, if I'm holding the pencil and booking this, I'm not booking a 40-minute match with Triple H and Roman Reigns. If I'm trying to get this guy over, I'm putting in like a 15 minutes max and have him kick the living daylights out of Triple H, who realistically shouldn't have had the world title on him at that point. But that's how I would have done it. But again, 40 minutes. That's why I say, if you thought the Cena and Rhodes match was like the worst main event in WrestleMania history, rewatch Triple H and Roman.
I mean,
King Kong Bundy and Hogan in WrestleMania 2, for crying out loud, had more excitement.
It's not even the worst. It's not even the worst John Cena main event. Watch it. Well, I actually don't rewatch WrestleMania 27. Just don't.
Or the one where the one where Miz goes over John Cena. Like that was. And I'm a Miz fan. But
speaking of another guy going over, Dominic Mysterio. New Intercontinental Champion.
All right.
Hey, remember just a year ago when we just kept booing this man out of the building? We can't even hear what he's saying. He's now the most popular Mysterio since ever, I guess. I mean,
he had X-Pac heat, and now he's got sort of that comedic heat. He's been able to pull it off.
So
a lot has to do with his stash.
I think what really turned him onto me, or turned me onto him, was one of those segments where New Day, after they turned on Big E, was just getting no love from anybody backstage, and then Dominic Mysterio was walking up to him, and then Xavier's like, "Hey Dom, Dirty Dom, you understand how we feeling? You've been being booed out of the building. You get hate from the fans." And then Dom's just like, "Look, man, I don't like Big E. I never liked Big E, but that was crazy." And then Xavier's like, "You guys are dicks."
So
I mean, I didn't like him. I didn't like Big E, man, but that was fucking nuts, dude.
So I actually picked Dominic to win this match because, as we mentioned earlier, it felt like Braun Breaker was going to move on to bigger and better things, and we're going to talk about that. But Penta, it's not the time. I think he's going to do some other things right now. And right now the thing is ending the Judgment Day. That's the thing. And the best way to do that is for Finn to hate Dom. And the only way to do that is for Dom to win. So that's why I did pick Dom to win. And I am not the biggest Dom fan. I certainly do not like his in-ring work at all. But he is getting over. And I would acknowledge that. And I will acknowledge that. And that's good, because there was a period where we didn't think that would ever happen. And there was a period where there was literally no positives to show with Dominic. And that's changed. And that's good, because he's going to eventually get out. I think he's very slowly, but he's getting out of that nepotism hire area, because that was the thing. If he was just a guy off the street, he would not be there.
Well, he is Eddie Guerrero's son, so he has.
Yes.
Yes.
He's not Rey Mysterio's son.
Evident now.
We all saw that
evident,
match.
It wasn't evident 20 years ago. It is so
I'm
evident.
your Peppy.
Yeah.
I'm your Peppy.
The physical resemblance cannot be ignored.
The mustache.
Well, he's obviously helping with the mustache and the hair now, so he's really pushing it.
Yeah.
But I've never been a fan of Dom either. I found him boring, very generic. And that was, during the COVID time where they were wrestling in front of TV screens.
The Brock stuff. Oh my god!
And all that stuff was just. I'd rather have teeth extracted than to sit through most of these Dominic Mysterio matches, and then the inevitable heel turn, and then it's taken him, and it's funny because it's taken him this long really to get into that heel. Like, he was doing your stupid generic heel stuff, like, if you're in San Diego, you make fun of the Padres, or if you're over here, you do that, and the constant references to Eddie and doing the the Eddie shuffle and all those things in the frog splash. You're going to get booed no matter who does it.
It's tired because everybody does it. It's tired because everybody does it, but he's doing it because he knows that you'll hate it, and I get that. But I don't hate it because it's heel heat. I hate it because it's stupid. And yeah.
No, but again, it's taken him this long, and this is probably why he's being rewarded with the title run. Is that, hey, it's been a long road to get where you are now, and like I said, WrestleMania, the pop for him when he won the belt was just, and those are WrestleMania crowds. So let's see how it goes over the course of. The next few weeks, to see if the crowds are still reacting, or if it was just sort of the Las Vegas crowd, because most of the people that were in the front row seats at WrestleMania were in the front row at Raw and the front row at SmackDown. It's the same group of people. So who knows? But he's being rewarded with a title run, and that's fine. And, as The Rock said, hey, it's all a complete work, buddy. When talking to Dave LaGreca and his rant and his blood vessel popping, screaming match, we all have to relax. It is a work.
Sure.
The entire business is a work. It's that old guy sitting in the arena. It's still real to me, damn it. So some more references for the old people out there.
Well, we'll see what happens with Dom and everything, and as far as Braun Breaker goes, I guess we can talk about this now. So, Seth Rollins won the main event of night one. As Alan alluded to earlier, kind of saw coming when he didn't get physical with Paul Heyman when he had Paul Heyman in the ring by himself, and said that Paul now owed him a favor. And the whole thing with him managing CM Punk while he's Roman's advisor and all of that just felt weird. It felt like it put Seth to the wayside, and it felt more like they were building to Punk versus Roman instead of Punk versus Roman versus Seth. And then Seth had to do all the work to build this, even though he was literally the fourth guy on the line of importance here. And he did everything in his power to get where we are now, and everything that he did has got him to this point where he is now being managed by Paul Heyman and teaming with Braun Breaker. And that is huge for everybody involved, because now you have Roman and CM Punk kind of bitter about the Heyman stuff. And then you have Braun Breaker getting this huge rub for being associated with the people involved here. And then you have Heyman doing something different for the first time in a long time. And Seth is just shot into the stratosphere with this. And that's something he's needed for a long time.
Seth has been that workhorse. You remember, like last year's WrestleMania, like the guy was physically in torturous pain, but he finished off what he needed to get done. And when he was world heavyweight champion, he was the guy that came out every week, even though his shtick got tiring real quick. I'm a revolutionary, I'm the visionary, I'm Seth, blah blah blah. But in his in-ring work, never changed. It was always great. He's got a great work rate. He knows how to get the crowd going, and he's believable as a world champion. I'm hoping is that Seth and Brock Braun Lesnar, Braun Breaker will be treated as equals. I hope it's not sort of Seth being the leader and Braun being the follower. I hope that they do. Yeah, I hope they're treated as equals, because that's what's going to put that rocket ship to Braun Breaker and bring him to the world title picture.
And Seth has done that already. Seth has done that.
So Seth doesn't need the world championship. I think Braun, over time, like I said, don't put it on him next week.
Yeah.
Have a little build up, have him, maybe a SummerSlam, or have some kind of thing where they have a tag and have him get the pin on, the world, whether it be
Jay,
Cody or Jay.
So what's very interesting about this emerging group? Sorry to interrupt, Mike. Mike Cluett, I know you have to leave in about 5 minutes, but what's interesting about this group is, so it's small right now, but Seth's still coming out to his visionary music, right? Because it's way over. The fans still sing it. Mm-hmm. Always want the fans to sing along to your theme song. Braun Breakers was kind of straddling between like heel and babyface there already. Like, he's got his own following. These are guys that are like getting over with the fans in a positive way, and yet they're now being led by, well, not led, but now they're being advised by Paul Heyman, and they're supposed to be a heel faction, but I don't get the sense that they are truly that, unless they. I mean, the nuclear option, Charlotte, is that if they put Logan Paul in this faction, then you'll definitely boo these people. But
I might stop watching.
You might stop watching. Anyway, Seth.
We'll all overdose on Prime Drink, and then the WWE audience will be gone.
Depending who you add in here, Seth and Braun, and then God knows who else.
Well, I hope, and we all read the net and hear all the people on Reddit, and they're like, "Well, we got to put Becky Lynch in there." Like, God, no,
we don't have to.
Don't dilute it. Let's have one more person for the nuclear. And as much as I hate it, Logan Paul has nuclear heat, and they're sticking with him. So maybe putting him in there isn't such a bad idea if they want to make them heels. Right now, they're the cool NWO.
Yeah,
they're the bad guys, but everybody still likes them.
Right. So
a lot of people have been calling for somebody who needs a big rub, like a Carmelo Hayes.
There you go.
That's another one I'd love to see.
He's doing nothing on SmackDown right now.
Yeah, really he won the Andre. Big deal. A lot of people have won the Andre. What has that got?
Jey Uso.
Yeah, he's the only one. He's really the only one to win the Andre to get anything out of it. Whether it took years to get there, I mean, everybody else who has really hasn't gotten to do anything.
Look at Cesaro's career.
Yeah. I mean, the jury's still out on Bronson Reed, but
if he can come back, and Bronson Reed could be another one of those guys.
I mean, honestly, I would like healthy, him in there. Yeah,
he could be the Jacob Fatu enforcer type, because we're seeing comparisons to the old Dangerous Alliance with Paul Heyman. Yeah. You got your Seth Rollins, you got your Braun Breaker, sticking at Bronson Reed, and there's or like I said, a Carmelo Hayes. He could be and if you're ever like in the 6-man tags, or if you're in tag team matches and you have Carmelo, he's still young enough where he can take a few losses and it's not going to kill him. Mm-hmm. Because of where he is. So he could take the pins, and that'd leave Braun alone, that will leave Seth away from being put into a 3 count. So, and the same thing with Bronson Reed, he can take the pin. Like that's why I'm saying, like, you have to have the Seth and Braun, and then, like I said, when it gets to the point, and pull that trigger, and then you have that rocket ship on Braun's shoulders.
I just got a horrible idea, and I hope it doesn't happen. What if it's Hikuleo?
Yeah. The news has been that he's been on the NXT internal roster, and they haven't really used him yet. But why does he need to be on this guy? We talk about a young 7.5-foot Samoan dude with long hair and a badass look. So
yeah.
No, I'll get a John Moxley tattoo if that happens. No,
I mean, they're not going to even call him Hikuleo. They're going to call him something else.
Well, of course they will. But yeah, I think
there's lots of stuff that's happening there, and this is where I'm going to make my exit. So thanks, guys, for having me on here really quickly. Say thank you very much for that. I hope I get the chance to do this again. Just dad duties have called upon me, and my daughter is waiting to get picked up after her thing at the school for her show. So.
Mike,
of course, and we appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Thanks, Mike, for popping in. And I will see you in Brampton on May 23rd for Under Siege and the TNA Impact tapings the day after.
Yeah. We'll have to say his name because
we'll have to say his name.
Our TNA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yes,
Joe
hopefully
Hendry.
Still by then. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're keeping it on him. If they do, then. We'll be the ones carrying the sign saying, if Hendry loses, we riot.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mike, for joining us. Have a good night.
Thanks a lot, guys. Don't forget, if you're listening, like, subscribe, do all that kind of great stuff. These guys are fantastic. And really, it's been a great time. Thanks very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about the remaining topics that we have. And the biggest one that we haven't discussed is the women.
Oh,
so
yes, women.
The biggest one that we haven't discussed yet. And so just to start off, the best match of the entire show, both nights, the women's triple threat, easily one of the best women's matches in WWE history, probably in the discussion of one of the best openers in WrestleMania history. A lot of people are saying that it's neck.
Hey, sorry everyone. It seems that Mike dropped out of the call for a second. I am not sure why, but he was talking about the women's title match at WrestleMania, the triple threat between Io Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley.
Sorry, everybody. I don't know what happened.
Sorry, I was covering for you while you disappeared. I don't know what happened there.
I think what happened was I accidentally hit the backspace on my mouse.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But yeah, you know what? You mentioned this match. I'm actually like starting to compile a list of my kind of like year-end matches of the year 2025, and I think I have to put this on. I mean, it just flowed so naturally. I don't remember all the spots, but it was just like these women gave it to each other.
And it was a sprint. It was a sprint in the best way. It was only 15 minutes and change.
Yeah.
But it was perfect. It was the perfect length. It didn't need to be 20, 25 minutes. It had the perfect amount of time. Everybody got their shit in. Everybody looked good.
The ending was fantastic.
And the right person won.
Yeah.
Because the entire build to the match was that Io is the afterthought, even though she's the champion.
It was just, they did it weeks after weeks. Like, Io's coming in, not because she's only 5 foot nothing, but just keep shoving her aside. But she's the title holder. And yet, like, this could have been, if you didn't see Io there, you would have thought it was just Rhea and Bianca for the title. But I'm like, hello.
And there was all those moments where Bianca and Rhea were literally putting their hands in her face and acting like she's not there.
Exactly.
Making it about them. And Io, who is one of the best wrestlers in the world, men or women, like, absolutely just stole the show here. A lot of great moments in this match. it's one of the matches that I am going to watch again for sure. Because it was great. And I think this is going to lead to Rhea and Io meeting again at some point.
Well, yeah, we saw a snippet of that on Raw as
Yes.
Io was facing off against Stephanie Fakir,
Yes.
and they had a match on Raw, which I believe was then interrupted by Roxanne Perez
Well,
and
yeah.
Julia.
So I said to you in our private chat that this match was too good to be true. It's obviously
It's
going to
like,
be a
I
DQ.
think there's a DQ finish here.
Yeah, because you got your two best
Right.
women's champions going at it. You don't want either one of them to take a pin here. And then you got Roxanne and Julia, who I guess are a tag team now.
I think you told me that I think they're just teasing Julia and just having her appear on Raw just to as a
Yes.
tease. No, she's
Oh,
still on NXT.
yeah, no. Julia
In
is
fact,
going to
yeah.
be on NXT still for a little while. I obviously Stephanie, Jordan, and Julia do not need to be in NXT. Do not at all. They're all too good for NXT. But as of right now, they are needed for the star power for that brand to matter.
Right.
Jordan's not going to be there for very long. I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't even win the NXT title.
No, I won't be surprised either. I mean, they need those three there to build up the division in NXT because they've got a good crop of women below them that can be their future stars. Kelani Jordan, Sol Ruka, Zarya,
Speaking of Sol Ruka,
Jada Parker.
What a weekend for Sol Ruka. Like, she killed it this week.
Oh my god. Yeah, so as an aside, NXT Stand and Deliver, the 6 women North American women's title match. Wow. Sol Ruka ends up hitting her Soul Snatcher, basically version of a cutter, which is done in a crazy way. I don't even know how
Somersault.
you can physically do that. But she did that off a ladder, and then she proceeded to hit it on 2 women at once.
Yep.
To then take out everybody to climb the ladder and win the title.
Sol Ruka is a star in the making. She's the new NXT North American champion.
She's also technically the only double champion in NXT because she also holds the women's speed championship.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. Except on Twitter, apparently.
So yeah. A lot of good going on with the women, but unfortunately, there is also some not so good going on with the women.
Yeah.
So, we've talked about in the past about how under Vince, tag wrestling did not matter. And it seems like, to an extent, that is still happening. More so on the women's side than the men's side. But on the women's side, so how we got here, right? Lyra Valkyria, the first ever women's intercontinental champion, has an amazing match with Bayley on Raw. And they killed it. Had a great match. It was one of the best TV matches in a long time. Out of nowhere, they announced, just because, a gauntlet match to determine who will be facing the women's tag team champions at WrestleMania. In this gauntlet match, you had the teams of the Pure Fusion Collective, which is just 2 people now. They're barely a collective, and they're just a duo of Shayna and Zoe, who have not appeared on TV in a very long time. Then you had the Secret Hervis, who are just lackeys right now. Kaden and Katana, who, again, have not really appeared on TV all that much and have not won matches. Then you got a couple of makeshift teams that have never teamed before. Ever. Going for a shot at the tag titles. Maxine Dupree and Natty. and Bailey and Lyra. First of all, the first issue here, why are Bailey and Lyra now teaming after just having a great match for the Intercontinental title? Why are they now in a match for the tag titles, even though they've never teamed before once?
I mean, Maxine and Natty, they haven't. I mean, the Maxine Natty relationship was more like, Natty, please train me. I need to learn. And now suddenly you are a tag team competing for the tag team titles or a shot at the tag team titles.
Yeah.
So that logic is not stringing together for me.
And completely absent from all of the build to WrestleMania and since Elimination Chamber is Alexa Bliss. And obviously we know why that is. The reason that is because every single person in the Wyatt Six could not be on TV because Bo Dallas was injured. Which is crazy.
See, remember there was a release of a script of the original plans of WrestleMania. It was supposed to be a Wyatt Six versus the Judgment Day, which would have been a good way to start telling the story of the Judgment Day splitting up, but didn't work. Yeah,
and
but if you're telling me, and this is true, that only because Bo Dallas is legitimately injured and cannot be on TV, that the rest of them, the what, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 other guys and girl,
and the one girl
on TV, you can't do a storyline where Bo's like, let's be real. He says, I can't be on. I need time away. I need time to reflect and go back into the darkness to find myself again, or some weird bullshit like that.
Yeah,
you all need a new guiding light or something.
He can appoint Alexa. He can literally be like, I am handing over the reins to the Princess of Darkness,
someone needs
or whatever.
Someone needs to watch old tape of like the Undertaker from the 90s when he died in 1994 and then resurrected himself like a couple of months later.
You could have did anything to explain it away, and had these people on TV, and had Nikki and Alexa, who have a history of teaming again and being in this match and competing for the tag titles. That not only gets these people on TV, gets more people on TV that could have been doing this. You could have had Bailey continuing her feud with Roxanne that never got concluded. You could have had an
so just to be clear, Bailey's not injured, right? She's just off television.
Yes, so I was going to get to that, right?
Yeah.
So Bailey and Lyra, the Intercontinental Champion, win the gauntlet. Never teamed before, ever. Never once. Win the gauntlet for a shot at the tag titles. And in the build, 2 days before WrestleMania, they run an angle where Bailey was attacked, but we don't know who did it. And Lyra has to find a partner. And obviously, we all knew who this was going to be. Mm-hmm. Because she was in town.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
She works there. She's making a lot of money working there. It's Becky Lynch. Now, that's not a problem. Now, the problem is this didn't need to happen the way that it did. Because this is the second time now that you've had Becky return, and it halted the momentum of somebody else. The second time. Because Bailey is one of the best workers on the entire roster. She won the Royal Rumble last year, won the title, and then unceremoniously lost the title after not getting a lot to do during her reign. And then you just put her aside for an angle when you could have just had her in an Intercontinental title match on this show. You could have, instead of putting the Intercontinental Champion in a tag team title match and had Bailey and Lyra on Raw, you could have built something where Lyra wanted to have an Intercontinental title match and Bailey challenges her, and then Becky shows up in the build, even before Mania, she could show up before Mania and say, I want a shot too. Triple threat. There you go. And you can build to that.
See, what I didn't also like was Becky replacing Bayley and then winning the tag team titles, which was a feel-good moment at that point because, I didn't know what was going to happen on Raw like after. I thought, oh, yeah, two Irish champions, like the mentor and the mentee. I thought it was very touching at that post-show press conference when Becky had her daughter with her. But then one day after, you just had Liv and Raquel win the titles back. Like, why was the point of having a one-day title reign? And then you had Becky turn on Lyra. So I'm like, what was the point of just snapping a title reign or a tag team title reign like that, and then just have them like win it again? So it was
again. I love Becky. Becky has always been one of my favorites, but it's the same exact thing that they did with her and Bianca. She returned and beat Bianca in minutes and won the title, halted her momentum. So then they just did the same exact thing here, where instead of the Intercontinental Champion going into Mania looking strong and defending her belt, she wins a different belt and loses it the next night, which diminishes that belt completely.
I don't know which was worse, because the Becky squashing Bianca, which led to her being this big time Bex character, which I believe was still some Vince McMahon bullshit.
Yes.
And then this, I don't know if this is worse, because with that big time Bex stuff, you kind of expected that from Vince because that's what Vince would do. This is like, you expect this from Vince, not Triple H.
Yep.
At least to that of general knowledge, but as we've seen lately, it's like Triple H is not. I mean, remember, Triple H learned under Vince. He's got good ideas. He knows how to do much better storytelling, but it's just
Yeah. But the whole thing here is that you could have built something. You could have built, as we mentioned.
Yeah, like you said, you gave way better ideas in the last 5 minutes than these people have figured out in the last.
You could have did something with Alexa. You could have did something with Nikki. You could have did something with Chelsea fucking Green, who has been one of the most over people on your entire show, especially on SmackDown, which has been considerably bad. SmackDown is the worst show in WWE right now, and it's not even close because there's nothing of substance on that show. Literally. Chelsea Green has been like one of the only.
And speaking of Chelsea, she's actually having a very good U.S. title match right now with Selena Vega.
Oh, you mean a match they could have had at Mania?
Yeah. Like, I really didn't need to see El Grande Americano. So could have had this.
A perfect example is like, obviously there's been discussion of Nikki Bella coming back. You could have had Chelsea Green have a match with her. You could have did something. I'm not the biggest fan of Nikki Bella, but it's something to get Chelsea on this show. With that, it's crazy that, and yes, you had the first ever women's feud that did not include a title in a singles match on WrestleMania in Jade and Naomi, and they had a pretty fun match, all things considered, and an actually good story to tell there. But why couldn't you also have an Intercontinental title match? Why couldn't you also have a U.S. title match? WrestleMania was 4 hours each. And you had to use all this time to put in all these stupid ads for things and all these like pauses in between matches when you could have had more matches and still went on the same amount of time. And that would have gotten more women on the show, because a lot of these women deserve to be on this show, like Chelsea Green. And it's crazy to me that they aren't or weren't. And Becky is great. Becky is a Hall of Famer. Becky is a legend. She's an all-timer. But doing this just doesn't help anyone.
I don't want to interrupt, but apparently Selena Vega just won the U.S. Women's title. She just
Yeah.
beat Chelsea with with the Destroyer, and just wow, yeah. They did a thing where the secret Hervis was kicked out by the referee, and then just a quick split second later, it was yeah, wow. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry for the interruption. But when
Well, that's great
that's
because that's Zelina's first
so
championship.
this shit should have happened on Mania, right? Like this is what you were talking about. Like this,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and you could have had more than one challenger for sure.
Yeah, but to lead on to your frustration about all these people being benched, and I think like we saw an interview recently with WWE President Nick Khan talking about we don't bench people. You just listed like 5 people that they kept on the backbenchers. Karrion Cross,
Yes.
I think he was very visibly upset over this past weekend.
Mhm.
WrestleMania being in his hometown of Las Vegas, he got a very good reception at GCW's Bloodsport, having competed, beating JR Kratos, not exactly a small guy.
Hell of a match.
Yeah, exactly. And then Randy Orton, in coinciding this with, oh, by the way, Randy Orton has no opponent because Kevin Owens needs neck surgery. And then Cross says, I didn't ask to fight Randy Orton at Mania. The fans started chanting my name for that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not saying that, they shouldn't have picked Joe Hendry. But yeah, but when this guy and his wife Scarlett have about a quarter century of wrestling experience between the two of them, and you're in his hometown, in your man's hometown, and you can't find a spot for him to do something, it's again, like to your point, it's like you can't find anything for some of these people.
Yeah.
But yeah, to the point with Joe Hendry, I was like, you know what? That was definitely one of the positives to
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a hell of a moment. And
yeah.
I don't think a lot of people saw that coming.
No, I didn't.
Because
I was expecting Rusev or Aleister Black or something like that, right?
Same. Rusev was who I picked.
A familiar commodity, but then you just I don't know, like,
but
oh,
some reports came out that Orton suggested it, so that's cool. But what does that mean? Because they only had a 3-minute match.
honestly, I think they did it for a pop and
Yes.
just a moment, and really, I
Sure.
think this. So the benefit, I think it bodes well for the TNA relationship.
Well,
with at least now at WWE,
it got Joe Hendry on a stage that he deserved to be on, and that's cool.
Yeah,
and the guy is so over that most people who know who he is don't even know what TNA is. Like,
exactly. And now people are like, "What's TNA?"
Yes, exactly. And I could probably name a few people that I know that are that. They have no idea what TNA. What the hell is that?
I'm looking at the same thing. You and I were talking about Carmelo Hayes earlier and how he probably needs to join the Heyman Alliance. I think this is proving to me, especially to you, Mike, because you hate the Miz. Like, what is that? Andre the Giant's head?
Yes, it is. It is a gold. It is a gold chain of Andre the Giant's head.
It looks like Will Hobbs's head for a minute. Yeah, like I thought it was the Miz's head too at some point, because I would I would expect that from the Miz, but like,
I mean, I have the TV muted, but I assume that this was Miz's way of saying, "Oh, you don't have to carry that trophy around anymore."
I mean, that actually makes sense. Like, that trophy is bigger than Carmelo. Come on.
Yes, but yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't just rip the head off the trophy and then just put it on, because the head on the trophy is still there. So it's like, it made more sense if you just detach the head from the trophy.
It's a much bigger head than the one on the trophy as well. But anyway, yes, Karrion Kross had a hell of a weekend as far as getting over, because he cut this passionate promo on the Raw post show and talked about, how he, even before that, had a passionate promo about how AJ Styles needed to defeat Logan Paul to solidify that these YouTubers can't just walk into wrestling and just think that they can run
I
the
think
show.
he's speaking to you, Mike. He's speaking.
Oh well,
language.
I shared the hell out of that promo, and he followed me for it, so I'll take it. I said that I absolutely love that promo
I
because
think it is this generation, current generation's pipe bomb moment, right? It's literally he's telling the camera, he's using AJ Styles' real name, Alan. I told you, you need to win this, and I just told you, you just needed to do it for all of us for just one freaking second, and you were so selfish for. Just because you wanted to do it your way, and now we're all screwed. Because now we may all just as well be YouTubers, because this is what this business has come down to. That's the only way we can get on TV.
Yeah, because people like Logan Paul and Travis Scott and Bad Bunny, even though Bad Bunny is cool, we have nothing bad to say about Bad Bunny. Let's just be clear.
He did his business and then he left.
Yes. The difference is that Bad Bunny is not hanging around taking spots from people.
Right.
That's what Logan Paul is doing. Who, and carrying Cross's point, didn't pay his dues. Didn't do this for 20 plus years to get here. He just had a following, and WWE was like, I want that on the screen. But Karrion Kross, who has been killing it just to get on TV, and being handed all of this horrible creative. And he talked about the Spartan gimmick that they tried to give him, and
losing his debut match on Raw. What the hell was that?
As the NXT champion. As the NXT champion. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
To Jeff Hardy, who at the time,
about Stephanie and Io earlier, you're like, there's no way they're gonna make two of their popular champions like lose to each other. But like, oh yeah, I was thinking, oh no, they've done that before.
Yeah. Well, they even did that with Kevin Owens against John Cena, but that was after Kevin Owens had beaten him the first time.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yes.
But it's crazy that Karrion Kross, who is a legit like badass, he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He's got one of the best voices in wrestling. He is getting over because people are believing what he's saying, because what he's saying is true, and he deserves a spot because of it. But instead, I'm looking at the screen right now, and The Miz is in the ring. That's a problem. That's not okay, because The Miz's gimmick is tired. The Miz's character is tired. There's nothing interesting about The Miz. There's a lot of things interesting about Karrion Kross. And he's just wasting away. And he's got a contract year coming up. And I think that this momentum that he is building is going to help in his favor.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, the last time, look, it's ironic you bring up The Miz, because the last time, other than the CM Punk pipe bomb, the other time I saw a promo that, whether you believe he was being real or not, was The Miz going off on Daniel Bryan. That was the only other time I saw somebody do something similar.
That's also the last time Miz was relevant.
Exactly.
That was almost a decade ago.
Yeah, I'm watching The Miz now, and like, hey, props to you for all the time you've dedicated to this company, but this is like Miz from 5 years ago. So, like, I think he's here to introduce Carmelo Hayes, and I hope that leads to some kind of interesting debut. But besides that point, it's like,
but to add to that, R-Truth gets TV time. R-Truth, who, again, and I've never hated R-Truth ever. I hate his gimmick. He blocked me because of that, but that's fine. I don't care. I don't care that R-Truth blocked me. But him and The Miz, and like, we're done with these people. We don't want to see these people. We want to see guys like Karrion Kross get TV time. We want to see guys like Otis, who you're treating as a joke. actually get treated seriously in the ring because he's a hell of a worker. Akira Tozawa, an amazing wrestler. He's a joke because of WWE.
Nope.
Well,
That's what I was expecting. Looks like Aleister Black is back in WWE and on
yes.
SmackDown.
Yes. So we were kind of expecting this to happen. Again, we are watching SmackDown as we're recording this.
I really missed this entrance. This was a very cool entrance when he was the first time he did this.
Yes.
Just kind of rising up from like the coffin and this. Damn. I wonder if his eye is still like this different color than the other.
Well, I mean, he brought that over to AEW because of WWE.
And
So
I'm looking at him right now. It looks like he's still keeping that.
yeah. Yeah.
Shit.
So as we expected, Aleister Black is back in WWE.
See, I told you that at least with this Miz segment, there was a point to this. But yeah, to your point, in general, Miz is not a.
Yeah. But again, and my issue here is that. All right, so perfect example. And Aleister Black falls into this category. Andrade. Not being used at all. He was in the Battle Royal and got eliminated early. And no, actually, I think he was towards the end. But that's what he was doing this entire weekend. And he was sat in the background of the AAA announcement, and he looked absolutely miserable. Like,
yeah.
So that's why I actually have concerns about Aleister Black coming back, because it's literally the same thing as Andrade.
Well, to speak on a different viewpoint here, I think he had run his time at AEW had run its course. He came in hot. He beat Cody Rhodes with like a foot on his chest. And then, he famously like told Dustin Rhodes, "Your brother just made my career." And then he went on to lead the House of Black in great faction, trios champions for a long time. The House of Black rules were amazing stipulations that I hope they keep around in some other form. But yeah, it's like at that point they had reached the end of that faction, and you'll realize Brody King and Julia Hart were probably the next stars they can build from that faction. So it's like, what else is there to do?
Yeah.
And I know we're not talking about AEW for a moment, but there are moments when some people's like runs kind of like expire on themselves, and they gotta like, oh, sorry, I missed the Black Mass a lot when he was away, so it's still so quick. It just knocked this dude on his ass. Anyway, but yeah, he kind of ran his course. Like, we'll have to see what they do with Aleister Black. I think we should try to focus on like Rusev and Aleister Black this coming year and see what happens, because, and I'm not saying as a part of a pod, I'm just saying just on our own personal time.
Yeah, and I obviously I want good things for both of those guys.
Yeah.
But again, people like Miz, people like R-Truth, people like it's just like you got Andrade just sitting there, literally like.
I would love them to do a storyline like this. Selena Vega just became the new women's U.S. champion, so they want to keep her in the limelight for a bit. Aleister Black's there, her actual husband.
Yep.
Andrade's there, her former client.
Yep.
Imagine they do a thing where she has to choose between the two of them. That would be very interesting.
I mean,
I don't know how they're gonna go about doing that.
Or even put them in a trio.
Oh, like, yeah, Andrade getting pissed off. Like, I haven't done anything. I'm gonna turn to a different side of me. And like, and by the way, Andrade and Aleister, they did have some kind of like mutual alliance before on AEW when they were both there. So,
and in NXT.
And in NXT of sorts. I mean, I think they feuded for a bit, but
Yeah, but they had some mutual respect there.
Mm.
So like, I want to see the like Dragon Lee is being wasted. Like Rey Mysterio is
Dragon Lee, unfortunately, I think should go back on NXT because I think that is a better environment for him at this point.
I mean,
Because if you're gonna go up to the main roster and get stuck in the stereotype Latino faction, then
yeah.
Especially when they've got Penta and Ray Phoenix hogging up the spotlight and the stupid El Grande Americano nonsense. Like,
yep.
Anyway,
so yeah, there's a lot that happened this week that was very good, but I feel like there's a lot that still needs to be done to help make sense of some things, to make things right for certain people. Like there was people saying that Bailey should want out at this point. Like, and she did an interview. She did an interview with Chris Van Vliet, which I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw like the highlights and I saw like a lot of the talking points that people are using, where she recorded this interview before the attack angle. And clearly she knew something was going to happen because the way she was talking about how she deals with changes and creative and, you know, being a good soldier, quote unquote, to quote Karrion Kross, because he said that, like, Bill Goldberg told him to be a good soldier. And what has being a good soldier got him? Nothing. Nothing. Literally nothing. The difference with Bailey is that she has gotten a lot of opportunities. But the problem is that she keeps getting put aside for other people. Every time she gets opportunity, she gets put aside for somebody else. Instead of a long-standing run of being the guy, the person, the woman at the top. And Bailey is that good. Bailey is better than most of the people who get TV time. So why am I not seeing that? And she might be a WWE lifer just because. But even if she wasn't, her best friend is at the other company. And you know that she has her in her ear.
I'm just quickly checking through who's on a contract year, and Bailey is not currently listed.
No, so, she still has a while. I think like a year and a half. Maybe even longer. But the point is like, what are you doing? You're wasting somebody like Bailey? Like, how is that even possible?
I mean, you already lost one horsewoman to another the competition. Like, do you really want to risk losing another? I mean, you had Becky Lynch kind of wavering whether she was gonna go jump ship as well way back a year or so ago. So
well, yeah, and they had they had to throw the bag at her.
Yeah, like the
literal bag.
Yeah.
So obviously, I think they would probably try to do the same thing to Bailey, but what it comes down to, and I like to compare this to FTR, for example. FTR was thrown the bag by WWE, and they left because they were not feeling fulfilled. And it wasn't about just living it up in WWE for that. It was about feeling fulfilled, feeling like what they were doing was mattering, and people caring about what they were doing and caring about wrestling as a whole. And that's Bailey to a T. I mean, her and Sasha / Mercedes were very close with FTR and had the same philosophies about wrestling. That's why Mercedes took the opportunity to go out and do other things. And she's having better matches than she's ever had ever in multiple companies, in Mexico, in the UK, in Japan. And you're going to tell me that Bayley couldn't absolutely kill it in Stardom? Like,
oh yeah, no, she would be a top attraction there. You know,
yeah.
the Gaijin.
Yeah. And I just don't understand.
Yeah, I know you've spent a considerable amount of time on this
Yes.
episode talking about what the heck is going on with women, basically.
Yes. So I think we're gonna call it there. We overall WrestleMania, to get back to it, was fine. There was some really good matches on the show, and there was some not so really good matches on the show. And I forgot to mention earlier when your friend Mike was still here that the reason that I was rolling my eyes when we were talking about Dominic was not because of Dominic. It was because Nia Jax attacked Tiffany Stratton.
Yes, and considering the recent news about Nia Jax, I think putting her back on in front of the camera, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm alluding to, ladies and gentlemen, is the roast of WrestleMania, a once-in-a-lifetime event that will likely never happen again.
Yep.
Which Nia Jax uttered a trove of comments about Charlotte Flair that unfortunately cannot be repeated, I think, in any medium, because I don't want to get sued by WWE.
And Cody.
And Cody, and literally probably anybody else. Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
the
a hell of
the audio made its way around. So
yeah,
somebody was there and somebody recorded all of it, and it made its way around, and WWE killed that shit immediately.
right.
It's
wow.
now
like I was actually surprised that they didn't put it on Netflix, because it like killed
well,
Tony
they
Hinchcliffe
promoted the hell out of it.
Yeah, they promoted it, and you're telling me, oh wait, you're telling me it's not gonna be aired anywhere?
Yeah,
This is like Tony Hinchcliffe. This is the guy who's like one of Donald Trump's good friends. This guy that went to Madison Square Garden and called Puerto Rico a shithole island, basically.
Yes. But still, they promoted the hell out of it. They told people to go to this thing. And then again, and I'm not.
And then when they realized what was said, they're like, "Oh shit!"
I'm not advocating for everything that was said, but also there are some things in there that are just roast jokes, and that's what a roast is. A roast is making fun of people. That's the point of a roast. But some of the things that were said are and I've heard this said on other podcasts, and it reigns true. Having a roast about the most insecure people in entertainment is not a good idea. And Charlotte wasn't even there. Charlotte was not there.
See,
Michael Cole was not there.
That was a red flag when if Nia was saying all that stuff when Charlotte wasn't even sitting across from the stage on her, this was not planned.
No, and
oh gosh,
I mean, I understand. Like there are, there's been lots of roasts, and Comedy Central used to do them all the time. Netflix had a huge one with Tom Brady that was actually very good, but there's never really been a wrestling one. They did one of Ric Flair during like Starcast a few years ago.
Yeah,
but that was Starcast.
Yeah.
That was Starcast.
Yeah, that was just the Starcast. Like that's not.
And that was comedians.
Yeah.
That knew what they were doing.
Right.
Like Tony Hinchcliffe knows what he's doing. I don't think he was part of the problem.
This was like a combination of wrestler's court and airing of grievances meshed together and put in public, because wrestler's court is not meant to be in public viewing.
No. So
Lord.
Yeah, it didn't go well. Also, Paul Heyman said some some messed up stuff. He also was on Pat McAfee's show on Tuesday,
I saw that,
and he said that somebody should get deported. And
God.
Yeah, there was a lot, and even I think to close out, we could talk
let's
about.
Let's close out. Yeah.
Well, before we get to, I just wanted to add,
Mm-hmm.
WWE had one of the worst PR weeks in history leading up to WrestleMania. Like, it was crazy. The things that we were hearing, building to your biggest show of the year, and you're not even talking about your biggest show of the year.
Especially now that they're under this TKO umbrella, where it's a massive corporation that has like public relations advisors that can tell you how to talk about and promote yourself in a positive way. Instead, what did we get? Was this when we got Nick Khan saying that, we don't bench people in WWE?
Yeah. He also said that they don't pivot, which is a lie, because they did last year, most prominently, as we discussed. Let's see. Triple H, we talked about him saying that Jey Uso is not the greatest wrestler, but he's in your world title match. He also said that fans are stupid for caring about creative.
Just be a fucking fan, guys.
Yeah,
just enjoy it. Why do you need to question us?
He said that fans should not have a reason to be upset about anything booking wise, that they should just have fun, which is ridiculous. Because you're basically telling me that you think I'm stupid for caring about your show. That's what you're saying. Not and icing on the cake was Stephanie McMahon launched a podcast, and her first guest on the podcast was Dana White.
Right.
And on this podcast, she was quoted as saying that a big rule that's going to be enforced on her podcast is that no douchebags are allowed. While Dana White is sitting right there.
Is she saying that? Is she saying don't call Dana White a douchebag or
no? She's saying that douchebags will not be welcome on her show. Which
I feel like that's subliminal messaging. Like she's subconsciously trying to put something in the ether, as in like, no douchebags on the show, Dana.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that Dana White is one of the biggest douchebags in the world. So you already lied about that.
Oh my god.
And it's just crazy that you're the biggest company in the industry that you're in. And all of these flubs in your biggest week of the year. Like, not to mention, your biggest star literally ever said that he loves Vince McMahon. Even after everything that has happened, for anybody to speak positively about that man in any way should not be doing that. I get it. I
mean, if you talk about I think you talk about John Cena, but
yes.
Triple H also had to acknowledge that without Vince, he probably wouldn't be where he is now.
Sure,
and that is true. So they had to acknowledge him in some way.
Yes,
which I think Hunter managed to do in the best way possible. It's complicated. He's not only like business-wise a mentor, he's also my father-in-law. Which we already know, but it's had to be said again because it is family for him. But yeah, for John Cena, I don't know, man. I mean, at the end of the day, some of these guys, as much as we love them as the entertainer and the character, and I'll close off with this comment, I think. We have to remember they're real people with real viewpoints. Remember what I go back to what Roman Reigns apparently said to, I guess, Rolling Stone or some magazine. I'm a centrist Democrat, but I think what Donald Trump is doing. He's doing right by the country, and you have to take that what it is. It's a man's opinion. So I don't.
Yeah. Well,
Obviously, I don't want to
if
dive into too much
if
in that
if
regard.
if we liked wrestlers based on their political opinions,
Yeah, we wouldn't like this.
we wouldn't like wrestlers, or at least some of the most popular wrestlers in the world.
Right.
I mean, so it's not really about the politics. Politics is subjective. Roman Reigns said what he said. I don't think that's really as bad as some of the other things. But yeah, it's just crazy that this is that all of that happened in 1 week.
It was almost like the imperfect storm of shit that just happened.
Yeah.
And hopefully next WrestleMania they'll figure it out better.
Yes. So I think with that we are going
Yeah.
to close out. Hopefully some good on the horizon for WWE. They have officially announced John Cena versus Randy Orton at Backlash for probably the last time ever.
Yeah. They just did a 30-minute promo segment thing at the beginning of SmackDown. And I had to go back and listen to what they said because it looked like some hot stuff was going on.
They were talking for quite a while.
Yeah.
But yes, and that is huge for people like us who kind of grew up with them. I mean, you're a few years older than me, but when they were in their prime years feuding, I was, young adult, 18, 19.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, those are some dark years for WWE, but those were the guys.
Yep.
So it's crazy that we're going to get that one more time, probably with John Cena going over. But
yeah, I guess that's the only disappointing thing to me. Especially it's in Randy's hometown, St. Louis.
Oh well, that doesn't matter in WWE.
No,
that's never happened.
I think they agreed that he was not going to go over in his hometown. I think that because that's standard WWE practice. But yeah.
But we'll see what happens going forward. Hopefully, a lot of the things that have received discourse will be adjusted. But that is going to do it for us. We once again thank Mike Cluett for joining us for the hour that he did join us. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we'll have him on again soon. And hopefully in the future we'll be able to have more friends and guests on in the future. And we'll look forward to the rest of the wrestling that's going on in the next couple of weeks, months. There's a lot of wrestling out there.
At least for this calendar year. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mr. Cluett, thank you again for that Mike for joining us for the time that he did. He and I will be attending TNA's Under Siege in Brampton, Ontario, Canada on May 23rd and 24th. So we're really looking forward to that. First Ontario, Canada location other than Toronto. It's a much easier route to get a place to get to than the place that they did Rebellion in a couple of years ago, but an Emergence as well. But we are looking forward to that.
Yeah. So that should be fun. And of course we will be back to talk about all things in the future of the world of wrestling, whether it be WWE, AEW, Impact, TNA, New Japan, Stardom, whatever it is. We welcome all wrestling around here. And as we say all the time, watch the wrestling you want to watch, not the wrestling everybody's telling you to watch. Enjoy what you want to enjoy. And make sure to go to our Linktree /Going Over Big Time podcast for all the ways to listen to this podcast as well as watch it and support us, the podcast, or us individually on social media. And that is going to do it for us. Have a good one, everybody. And that's going to do it. Thanks.